All right, hi there, it's Tiffany from Daisy Farm Crafts, and today's little tutorial is all about this double crochet blanket that my daughter Haley made. It's her second blanket only. So this is a perfect beginner friendly. It really will help you practice your skills, and I kind of teach my kids, it's just like when you're learning piano and you have to practice your scales. Sometimes you just have to get blankets under your belt in order to get this tension right in your hands, to learn the blanket. It doesn't necessarily have to be for somebody, it's just practice. So today, what we usually use around here is Caron Simply Soft. It's weighted like a size 4 weight, so any acrylic yarn will work, any yarn will work. This is just a basic crochet stitch I'm going to teach you. This is a size H hook, so if you wanted to do the exact same as her, that's where you can just get Caron Simply Soft size H hook. Okay, I'm going to start with a slip knot. All crochet starts with a slip knot, and how I make my slip knot is just to wrap it over my fingers like that, and then I usually just push half of it through and pull down and tighten it up on the hook. So I have my little half knot. You feel free to do which way, but just start with a little slip knot, I should say. Now I'm going to start with a chain, and we're just going to do a practice swatch of 15 chains. So you yarn over and you pull through, yarn over and pull through. Try and keep the hook, everything really loose in your hand. Try not to grip too tight. I have the yarn wrapped around my fingers down here, kind of for some tension, and I'm holding the hook like a knife, but I know a lot of people can hold it like a pencil, and either way is perfectly fine. There is no wrong way to do this, and you may find a different way, a more comfortable way to hold this extra yarn. This is just, how I've adapted and what I do. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so this will just be the double crochet blanket. This is the only stitch we're going to use, after we just did the chains. So with double crochet, you're generally going to start in the 4th chain from the hook. So you never count this loop that's around the hook. That's not a chain, that's just a loop. You're going to start counting right here at this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the one you're going to want to work into. So with double crochet, we yarn over, then insert our hook, then we yarn over again and pull up a loop, and then we yarn over one more time and just pull through 2 loops, and then for the last time yarn over and pull through the remaining 2 loops. Okay, I'll do that one more time really slow for you. So I'm yarning over, inserting my hook, yarning over and pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over and pulling through 2 more. Okay, that's the basic double crochet stitch. You want to just try to get the rhythm of that going. I'm working just into the top loop of the chain. So if you see the little V's that the chain made, I'm yarning over and I'm working just underneath the top one. There are all sorts of ways you can work into that base chain too as you learn more crochet skills. This is the easiest way right now. It's the easiest loop to find, and so since this is really for beginners, I just want you to work underneath that top loop. So okay, we're going to work in each one, and maybe pay attention. I've told Haley I guess there's probably some little things I do more that my hands do just automatically. One of them is I'm really trying to keep my work facing toward me, and I look at it and I kind of pull on that chain so I know And I guess it helps maybe to keep my tension even. And these are things that with practice, it really gets better. So I've worked into that last chain from the hook. That last space. Okay, so I'm going to count so that I have an idea of how many double crochets I'm making. Now I have this first chain 3 that, we started in the 4th chain from the hook. So I'm going to count those chain 3s as 1. Then I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 double crochets. I'm going to remember that number because we're going to really try to keep our swatch perfectly straight. So now we're going to chain 3 and turn. And I always tell my kids, turn your work like a page in the book. There you go. Now, this can be the trickiest part, so I want you to look closely here. This is the double crochet stitch that we did, the very last one. But now we have these chain 3s, and sometimes you'll see in patterns that they say turning chain counts as the first stitch. So that means that we do not work into the top of this first double crochet because the chain 3 count as that. So we will yarn over, and this time we will work underneath. You'll look at the top of the stitch and there's 2 little V's. We will work underneath both of those V's with our double crochet stitch. Yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over and pulling through 2. Okay? And then we'll keep working down the row underneath those 2 little V's and get to the end of the row. Now there's all sorts of ways to work into a double crochet. You'll hear a front loop double crochet, back loop double crochet. But for beginners, you want to know regular double crochet implies, or it's understood, that you work underneath the 2 loops. That's pretty much the standard for any stitch. It should be like assumed that you're working underneath 2 loops unless the instructions call for back loop or front loop, or on a half double crochet stitch you could be working front 2 loop. There's all sorts of ways, but generally it's assumed that you'll be working under the 2 loops. Okay, so we're at the end of the row, and look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I want to make 13, so this is in double crochet. You're going to be working what they say into the turning chain. But for purposes of beginning, and honestly, this maybe I'm cheating on the rules, I don't know, don't turn me into any sort of, and don't tell my mom, but I do not like to work into the top of those turning chains. I just don't like that there's an extra loop that hangs down or one that pulls up, so I just go ahead and I work underneath all of them into the space, and I go ahead. And then that I 2 and I chain 3. So Haley totally enjoyed that as a beginner, that she didn't have to look for some tiny little loop at the end of the row, and I felt like for beginners, just work underneath those turning chains. A little bit bigger hole so you can see what I'm saying. They're just your stitches right there. But I still have 13 now. Okay, so here we go. Turn. Did you see I turned like a page in the book? And here's our chain 3, counting as the first stitch. And now you will work into that next stitch. Okay, and work across. So essentially, in each row, there will be 12 worked double crochets plus the turning chain. And oh, that can help you so much if you kind of can keep track of that number, because I tell you, even in my crochet journey, and that still is, knowing which is the last stitch is a struggle till you become really, really confident in what the stitches look like and everything. So here we are. Here's that turning chain. Maybe you can see a little bit better what I'm saying. I'm not going to have you try it, because those turning chains, they get tight and they're hard to find. So I just go ahead and quickly work up into that hole, I lift it up, go like that. And in this blanket, with the ribbing, we will be covering that up, and you'll see how we work that. So now I will say, a lot of people, you know, so this is one of my least favorite things about the double crochet stitch, is that it leaves a hole at the end of the row. So usually with my patterns, I figure out a way to tweak them so that I'm always ending with a single crochet or a half double crochet. But so I very rarely do all half double crochet blankets. I would say, I think the only one I have is the simple ripple blanket is all double crochet. So this blanket, and that's what I'm saying, it's really intended for good crochet practice. And maybe you'll just want to do this as a swatch. So okay, so I'm gonna just keep working here, and then I'll come back and I will show you how I taught her, or well, how I would have taught her the ribbed border. I did it for her, but okay, so I'll be back. Get to practicing. Okay, so I have about 7 rows, and that looks pretty square to me. And so I've just pulled the loop through and cut it off. And I'm going to show you at this, just before we get to the border, how to weave in the ends. So I really love these big eye needles that are blunt on the end. I call them tapestry needles. I don't know what they're called, but that's what you're looking for when you go to the stores. Get a blunt type needle. And honestly, weaving in ends, and the why I prefer to weave in ends versus just crocheting over them, those are some shortcuts that you can take. But I personally like to take the time to weave the ends in, because blankets I've made in the past where I just crocheted over the ends, actually they started coming, you could see the ends starting to come undone, and so I didn't like it. So I just weave them in, and you can weave them in any direction, any way you want. You're just simply disguising them. So sometimes I just work in and out. I'll go underneath the stitches, any which way, sometimes up and down the post part of the stitch, and it really just does a good job just disguising. The yarn really hides from, well, in the stitches, and you don't hardly see it. So what I mean by the post is like the straight part of the stitch is called the post. So I maybe will just go ahead and stick my needle through one of those, kind of wrap around it, maybe go back up, kind of like that. So I'll take about 5 or 6 passes with the needle, weaving them in, and they do stay really well if you kind of go in and out in any way which you can. So then I just kind of pull it out away from the fabric, go ahead and clip it, scissors, and then pull it back, and it's hidden. And I haven't had it come out working that way. So I'll go ahead and do this one the same way, and then we'll start with that fresh square, and we'll do the ribbing. All right, so I have all those ends woven in, and I just have this little square swatch. I'm going to go back to the base chain, and that's where we very first started, our very beginning chain. And I'm going to go to the corner and insert my hook right underneath that chain space. What we're doing is called pulling up a loop. This is how we're going to get the ribbing border started. So I just simply lay that yarn over the hook and pull it through, and then I'll chain 3. Okay, now here's my end, and I've left enough so that I can have plenty of room to weave that in later. And I will yarn over, insert my hook right into the very same space, and crochet over that tail a little bit. And I'm going to work 2 double crochet right here into this corner, because that's going to count as our counting around the corner. Now, all I'm going to do is going up the side, you'll very easily see, because actually we have those little holes now, you're going to work 2 double crochets around the side of this post, you know, that runs up the side. We're going to work 2 in there. And then we're going to, you'll see that there's like maybe a little open space. Don't work in there. We're going to go up to, you know, where there's a clearer space where those chained 3s were. And we'll work 2 half double crochet, or not half, full double crochets in there. And continue up the side, working 2 double crochets per post. And our goal is to hopefully make this as even as possible around the whole blanket. Well, at least around this little swatch. And generally, it's 2 double crochets per 2 double crochet rows. And hope that will hopefully to get you the most even blanket we possibly can find. It's tricky. Okay, so here we are at, we still need to work on this side one. We're not turning yet. We got to go up this side. Work 2 on this last one right there. Okay, and then what we're going to do, so those count as the side, is we will insert our hook underneath that final stitch, the top of that stitch, and now we're going to work 3 double crochet around the corner. So 1, 2, 3. That helps us get around that corner. Okay, now this will be a little bit easier. We're going to just work 1 double crochet into the tops of each of those double crochets that we're going across the top of the blanket now. This is that last row we ended with. And we'll work to the other corner. While you're watching me work, or if you're working along with me, but feel free to push pause if you need to. I just want to say another tip I thought of that I didn't mention before is that when you first are working with a skein, especially Caron Simply Soft, you're going to want to try and find the end that comes out of the middle of the skein. That's the easiest one to work with. Okay, so here we are at this last stitch, and we are going to work 2 more, for a total of 3, just like, to mirror the other side that we just did. 1, 2, 3 into that final stitch before we now work down the side. And now at the side of this one, we'll have 2 double crochets, just like we did before. So I just wanted to make sure you got those 3 double crochets in that very last stitch before we started working down the side. Okay, I think I'm going to push, if you want to push pause and finish, and then I can come back and show you how to join, and we'll get that first row going. Okay, I realize that this might be a little bit tricky for you, so I want to pop back on here. So I've got my 2 double crochets working around this turning chain, and now we're back at the bottom of the, back to the starting chain. So you're going to need to find, these are could be a little bit tricky to find the underside of that chain. You need to work just 1 right into that first stitch. Find it, and then we've got to turn that corner. So we're going to work 3 into the top of that little corner space there. And so I just want to make sure you got that. Now, working in the underside of the chain, hopefully it's, just go ahead and insert your hook where the base of that double crochet is, and that should be fine. So you're essentially working over 2, kind of underneath 2 of the 2 loops of the starting chain. Hopefully that is more clear. Okay, so I guess I might as well just keep working here, and we'll get to the end where we can slip stitch and turn our work. Okay, so here I am at the last stitch, and then if you remember, we pulled up the first stitch in that corner space, and I had you do a chain 3, which will count as a stitch, and then we did 2 more. So we've already kind of have our corner done there. And so all I'm going to have you do, and it's the same thing, I'm just going to have you slip stitch just like we've done underneath all those chains. We're just going to slip stitch those all together. And now we will chain 3 and turn your work like a page in the book. And this chain 3 will count as our first, kind of go over that stitch right there. And this is ribbing. Okay, now instead of working underneath the top 2 chains, what you're going to do is I use my finger back here to push the post forward so that I've yarned over. I push my hook through and then pop it back up through the other side, and then yarn over and pull up a loop. Then I yarn over and pull through 2, finish the double crochet stitch like that. This is a front post double crochet. But now we want to alternate, and I'm going to pop the post to the back and enter, have my hook pop the post out to the back. And that's back post double crochet. Okay, so front post, now back to front post, alternating. And the next one will go back post. Pop it out towards the back. We're just going to alternate across, and it just doesn't matter the number or anything. We're just going to always alternate, and I'll show you what we'll do when we get to the corner, which we have figured out is a really handy way. I used to do this ribbing just one side at a time, but now I figured out how I can go around the entire blanket. It makes it much easier. And the corners kind of fan out, and they look pretty good. So the most important thing though is to pay attention to where that middle corner stitch is. Remember I had you do 3 into 1 stitch? Well, it's the second of those 3 that we want to pay attention to. So here I am, here's my 3. I already worked 1, and it happened to be a back post double crochet. And so now in the middle, I will pop that forward and work 1, but now I will alternate, and I will work a back post around the same post that I just did this front post. So it gets a little bit tricky to push that through, but not bad. Just make sure you pop it to the back. That's our second stitch. And now one more to go around the corner is that we will put 1 more around that same one, this time back to a front post double crochet. And that's how we're going to work the corner there. Now, if we ended on a front, just start right up again with a back. Just always alternate. So it does not matter how you land in the corner. Just keep your alternating going. So sometimes you might, when you finally get to that middle corner space, the corner double crochet, maybe it will be front post, back post, front post. Maybe it will be back post, front post, back post. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is to just keep alternating. Okay, so work this ribbing stitch all the way around the blanket, and then I'll show you how to join this round and turn, and then you are well on your way, and you can make as many rounds of this as you want. For Haley's blanket, we just did 3 rounds. I felt like that was just enough. But in the past, I've done up to 5, and it just gets a little bit thicker looking. Okay, so keep working. All right, I've worked all the way around my little practice swatch, and my last stitch is around that middle post that we started with, and then remember we worked those turning chains and those line up over this third stitch. So get your 3 stitches done around that post, inside, outside, or I mean, you know, front post, front post, whatever it turned out to be. Doesn't matter. And then we're right here at this turning chain. So again, the same thing. All I'm going to do is slip stitch and chain 3 and go up. I'm going to turn up and then turn the work like a page in the book, sorry. And now I'll see that I have those 3. So in the first one, it's poking towards the front. And now this time I'm always going to want to work in the same direction. You want those posts to stay on the same side of the fabric. So if it's a front post down there, work a front post around it. And now I will be in the middle, the second of those. So it's a little bit tricky, but you do need to work your 3 stitches around that middle post. So there's 1, and then try and find it. I know it's hard. Just have to kind of go with it. The middle, and then come back around, work around that same post. Kind of, sometimes it's okay to just go lower down on the post. Just make sure you get your 3 there. And then find your last one, which is right here, and it's a front post. And now you're pretty much home free. I'd say that's probably the trickiest part of the corner. And now just gonna keep working back around the blanket in the same way, just making sure that the posts pop out in the same direction. And you have yourself a really great border. Now this border can be used around any kind of blanket. We really love, it gives it just that sweater look. I also actually use this on the bottom of my sweaters or around a wrist or the brim of a hat. It's a very versatile stitch. It kind of, if you do too many rows, I mean, it actually has a, what do we say? It's a little stretch to it, a narrowing. And so it will pull together. I'll show you when I get to this. You'll see what I mean. Like it will narrow it. I don't know how to say that. So too many more rows and your blanket really will start to really squeeze in. So you'll have to decide how many rows you want. But basically I felt like 3 was plenty for this blanket, and I think that is all you really need to know. So it's all double crochet, really cute. It is a great blanket, and you see how even if you did get it and you wanted to give it away, it'd be totally fine. I think this all with pink and a white border would be really cute. That's actually really cute. So good luck. I'm so happy to know that you are wanting to learn about crochet, and we're happy that you're here following us, and hopefully we can teach you as much as we can. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.